What's up, you guys, and welcome back into the shop. Hey, we've got something pretty cool planned out for you. We're gonna go over how you're gonna let watercolor affect the color of your plastics when it comes to vertical jigging. Early in the spring, we get a lot of different variations of watercolor. You're gonna have dirty water, and it all depends where you fish too, but you're gonna have dirty water, you're gonna have clean water, you're gonna have stained water, and in some cases out here, it's gonna be crystal clear. Here on the St Clair River, a lot of times we're dealing with a lot of clean water, which a lot of times can make the bite tough for some guys. Whereas you go down to Detroit, or you're fishing the Saginaw River, and you'll notice that the water gets a lot more stained, and there's some times where if you're a St. Clair guy and you've got a lot of natural colors or a lot of lighter colors, you're gonna really struggle in that dirtier water. Where if you're a Detroit guy or a Saginaw guy and you bring up a lot of darker colored baits or brighter colored baits, as far as like, you know, your chartreuses, your bright oranges, like your creamsicles, anything like that, you're gonna notice that you might be struggling up here. Watercolor has everything to do with baits and bait presentation, and we're gonna dive in a little bit about what we're talking about. So for me personally, when it comes to dark water, I like to use dark baits. So if you get a heavy stain to the water, I really like to use dark baits. For example, here's one of our tracer shad molds, and this is a bigger profile bait as well from our buddies over at Plastics. This is Canadian Vampire color here. Notice the black and gold. The reason I really like a black and gold bait, especially in stained water, is the darker colors stick out a lot better in that darker water. It gives that bait a lot more profile. Where your lighter colors, say like a white or a gray, even some of your lighter blues, those are just gonna disappear in the muddy water. So the black back to this gives this bait a ton of profile, especially as it's coming down on the jig. But the gold is gonna give it enough flash. Gold and dirty water can be one of your best friends, because gold is gonna give this bait a flash in that dirty water that for those walleye that are, you know, light sensitive, they're trained to pick up that bait movement, especially in stained water. It can really trigger a reaction bite. So a black and gold bait, this is our tracer shad here, but it's a lot bigger profile, you'll notice, in some of the baits I'm gonna show you here. But that can be a really good bait, is a black and gold. A little bit of contrast to it. The gold shows up really good in that stained water. The black gives it enough profile and enough color where those fish are gonna see it coming down, they can line up their bait, and it doesn't just pop up right in front of their face. Because any of these river systems we're talking about, you guys got to understand as well that there's going to be quite a bit of current. Whether you're fishing Detroit or St. Clair, Saginaw will be a little bit less. But when you're fishing these river systems, you're going to have a lot of current. So you want to give those you want to give those fish time to line that bait up and decide whether they're going to eat or not. There's times where if that bait just pops up in front of their face, by the time you get your jig back down to the bottom, you're gone. You went over the fish. So you want to give those fish some time to see the baits. Another bait here is from our friends down at the Dip Net in Detroit. And this is one of our favorite colors in dirty water as well. This is their mid-ribba killer. And it's just a black and purple. Black and purple seems to be a great bait, but notice the tail. Notice that bright chartreuse, high contrast tail. This is gonna be a really good bait in that dirty water. Smaller profile, much smaller profile. But still just as effective. That black and purple really give the bait a good look in that dirty water. It gives those fish a dark silhouette that they can line up, but that bright chartreuse tail, again, is a lot of reactionary stuff. That chartreuse tail pops right in front of that fish's face. Hopefully it's irresistible and that fish has to take a bite of it. So we like to use a lot of things with possibly contrasting tails. The Canadian Vampire has a red tail, but in dirtier water, it'll be a lot harder to notice something like that. And then the third option we've got is one of our Hook 1 minnows. It's one of my favorite colors to run, really clean or dirty water, especially in stained water, is our dark emerald. So you can see, again, dark black back gives it a really good presentation in that stained water. But that green is going to give it a little bit of contrast, and it's going to hopefully, you know, this is kind of like a translucent green, and what you're hoping is that as this bait's coming up, you know, as the jig comes up and it rolls, it gives it that little bit of flash and kind of forces that fish to strike. So whether you're using big profiles, small profiles, we're even crack into paddle tails or anything like that, if you're in some really dirty water, paddle tails, ribbon tails, blade baits, anything that's going to move that water a little bit. The worms aren't bad because they've got that paddle tail, but you'll notice the minnows have split tails, so they're not going to move as much water. where like a paddle tail or even like a ribbon tail worm is going to move a lot of that water, especially with the tail. So let's kind of transfer over now to clean water. We've talked about dirty water and why it's important to have those dark baits and why it's important to show that presentation to the fish. But with the clean water, especially like what we've got out here in the St. Clair River, I mean, we went out the other day and we could easily see 20 feet down. That's going to give those fish a lot of opportunity to see what they're going to eat, when they're going to eat it, and how they want to eat it. Because are they going to nip it at the tail? Are they going to T-bone and crush this thing? That all depends on your presentation, and it's really important to have a lot of, I like to say natural colors, but I also like to say favorable colors. So like purple is always a good color when it comes to walleye fishing, especially in clean water. Mr. Linder once said, you can use any color you want walleye fishing as long as it is purple. So that's why we designed Purple Rain. It's one of our minnows here. And this Purple Rain is a stellar bait. So it's an all purple. It's almost like an anchovy. It's got that gray belly to it. But anything purple, and it's probably hard to see on the camera, but it's got big purple flakes in it. The reason that this bait I think works so well is because fish really pick up that purple well, especially underwater and especially at depth. If we're fishing, that 28 to 35, possibly even deeper, those walleyes really pick up purple really well. So it's a good looking bait. There's a lot of bait fish out there that have a purple in them. So that's why this one does really well. Another bait that does very, very well for us, especially in clean water, especially as the summer kind of rolls on and we get a lot of bait that comes in, is the Lure Lipstick log perch. Lure Lipstick's been a great Michigan company. They hand paint all their baits, which gives them the freedom to come up with some crazy patterns. I'm going to try and hold this up the best I can. Check that out. So this is their log perch. It's got the stripes right down the side. It's got the dot right on the tail there. This log perch here is probably, I don't want to speak for these guys at Lure Lipstick, but I would say it's one of their best selling baits. And especially up here when you get a lot of those gobies and you get a lot of those log perch and you get a lot of small perch that are rummaging the bottom, and especially in the river systems, again, they're bouncing from rock to rock. They're bouncing from, structure, whether it's wood or weeds. Those fish are just darting around there trying to hide, and walleyes are trying to pick them up. So something that's supernatural like this log perch can be a really good bait to really affect the clean water. I got a little sidetracked because I start thinking about jigs, and we're going to kind of save that for another segment as far as like pairing up your jigs and plastics. I will say in this episode, I'm not a super firm believer, like if you've got a log perch, you've got to have a log perch jig, or if you've got this and you've got to have like a green or a brown jig. I usually stick to a few colors of jigs. I really like our antifreeze greens, whites, blacks, maybe a purple jig. I really don't stray too far away from my regular pattern jigs. I think you get a little caught up with, overthinking everything, and sometimes simpler is better. So try and limit my decisions. So as far as pairing up jigs, we'll do another segment with it, but sometimes less can be a lot more. The last one we've got here is our disco shiner. It's basically just a shiner bait. You've got that, like we talked about in the dirty water, you've got that dark contrast on top, but the difference is you've almost got like a pearl light gray belly on this bait. And the reason that this works so much better in clean water is because they can really see that belly of that bait, and then it also allows the flake in this bait to really pop. So the disco shiner can be another good one. Anything natural, you guys, Arkansas shiners, alewives, anchovies, obviously emerald shiner, the rainbow trout, the natural shiner, gobies, if I didn't say that already. All those natural patterns are going to give you a lot of success in clean water. It's going to allow those fish, you want to trick the fish. At the end of the day, the goal is to trick the fish. So what you want to do is make the fish think that it's biting real bait. And hopefully, whether it's clean water, dirty water, or even a little hint of stain, even if we start getting a little hint of stain, guys, I'm really going to focus on these darker colors here, or at least a darker profile, because I want that fish to be able to line up that bait and see that bait. Hopefully this gave you some information as you get ready to head out on the water. It's not going to be long. Detroit River's already heating up. St. Clair River's really starting to pick up. And again, if you fish one day and one the next, I think you'll be really, really surprised with the water clarity. And it doesn't matter whether you're in northern Canada on a flying trip or you're deep down on the Missouri River or Mississippi River, and you're fishing these walleyes. Watercolor is going to determine your baits. So don't sit there in the boat and think too hard about what bait you're gonna use. Let the watercolor narrow it down for you, and from there, you'll be able to knock yourself out of the park. Fill them live wells, guys. Appreciate it.